I know some people don't consider Ace Attorney a visual novel, but it is. That's all I'm saying. And if you disagree with that, leave a comment. Tell me why I'm wrong, why Ace Attorney isn't a visual novel. But I'm going to tell you right now, I will reply. And
question.
I will not change my mind.
In the chat as well. Is Professor Layton on the DSC?
Hi everybody, and welcome to High Scores, High Stakes, the podcast that's all about top 15s. I'm your host as always, Mr. Lava Lava, and with me are my co-hosts.
They are indeed. Great to see you all, Lava and Tomahawk. How are you both doing tonight?
Good, very man. We are back again, and it is the top 15. Look at that, two-parters.
Right.
Yeah.
Leaving us on cliffhangers. Like
we could have done it in one if we didn't rabbit on so long.
Oh yeah. Like one long record, split in 2 weeks, save half the work, half the time. But we don't do things in normal measures at High Scores, High Stakes, do we?
That is it. I mean, PlayStation is going to turn 30 once, right?
Exactly. And what better way to tease listeners than 15 iconic moments split across 2 episodes?
I know, right? It's all about the audience retention rates. So it's Cardinal. But if you haven't guessed by reading the title of this is part 2 of our PlayStation's top 30 moments over the last 30 years. And we left on quite a beautiful cliffhanger. Well, I say cliffhanger, it's not actually a cliffhanger. We just cut the episode in half because the recording time was quite substantial. We left at number 16, which was, of course, PT. But before we continue the top 30 at number 15, we must tell the folks at home who we are and what we do, because as we all know, every episode is somebody's first episode. So we are High Scores, High Stakes. We are the internet's only competitive PlayStation podcast, where myself, Cardinal, and Tomahawk compete in a PlayStation Challenge League table. Every week we pick a game and play a challenge in that game. The winner of the challenge gets 3 points, second place gets 2 points, third place gets 1 point. Whoever is top of the High Scores, High Stakes table after 12 weeks wins the coveted High Scores, High Stakes Cup. When we're not in season, like right now, we talk about everything PlayStation, everything gaming. Every week is like a brand new podcast in your ears, and the last Monday of every month is Game of the Month Club. That is where we pick a game, play it throughout the month, and then come back here and deep dive review it. December's Game of the Month, of course, is going to be Cardinal Smith's Game of the Year 2024. It is Team Asobi's Astro, but can't wait
so
for
excited.
it. But yes, now that that's all out of the way, it is time for me to ask Cardinal_Smith_, what are you playing?
Thank you, Lubba. Let me tell you, can you guess what I've been playing this week?
A Final Fantasy 6.
I'm going to guess Red Dead Redemption 2.
No, I find the Red Dead Redemption games excessively dull. Now, I've never played Red Dead Redemption 2, so that is a sweeping statement based on nothing. I think it's based on traveling by horse. But anyway, what I've been playing is 2 Point Campus. Yes.
Oh, okay. Not where I thought we were going to go, but I'm welcoming it.
It's on the PS Plus library, and I thought, I need to play something different, so I'm going to try this.
Excellent.
It's like City Skylines, but like meets the hospital
Theme Hospital.
Theme Hospital from back in the day, except
good.
it's for a university. It's as fun as you'd expect it to be.
Are you playing it on the Portal, or are you playing it on console?
I'm playing it on the Portal. It
sounds a very Portal type game and a very handheld aspect. To be honest,
I can set it down on the table, make a cup of tea, pick it up again. That kind of game. So,
have you found a way to rig the VR headset to it? Say, Cardinal, come to bed, please. What? Okay, it's so immersive.
But interesting story about this game, the campus game. I was at Smith's about a year ago, and they were offloading a load of the games that clearly didn't sell. And I picked up, I think it was called the Scholarship Edition of,
Right?
of this game, and it's still sitting in a shrink wrap. But yeah, I
Amazing.
think it's funny you said about Theme Hospital, because I think the devs, they've made quite a lot of these games. There's like Campus, there was a hospital version, and there is a museum one, is the newest one, I think. But I think they're made up of ex-Bullfrog devs who made Theme Hospital and Theme Park and all that good stuff.
Theme Park, yeah. Great games.
Great games. Theme Hospital's an all-timer, in my opinion.
I played Theme Park quite a lot. Anyway, that's what I've been playing. It's good fun. What about you, Tomahawk? What are you playing?
I rebooted up Resident Evil 2 Remake today, actually, because I realized something. And I don't know if I'm going to get shouted at for it when I say this. I've never played Leon's story in Resi 2 Remake.
Nothing much changes.
No, I can imagine not much changes, but like I've realized that the last playthrough of the Resident Evil series, I've never actually played it. You know, apart from Resi 4 where you play as Leon, but the way I've played it and the characters I've picked and the pathways I've chose, Leon doesn't appear until 4 in my book, and I'm just like, that okay, maybe I need to kind of bring in the rookie cop and see how his sort of arc plays out like. But if you tell me it's not that much different, I'll not bother now.
No, it's not like Resident Evil 2, the original, where it's like it feels like a completely different game where you see things the other character doesn't see and stuff. It's basically the same game, but slight changes, but it doesn't really make sense. Because
if that's the case, is it worth me playing OG Resi 2 since that's on PlayStation Plus?
Yes.
Instead,
I mean, if you're asking me, is it worth playing 1998's Resident Evil 2? The answer to that now
of course,
and forevermore is absolutely, because that is an absolute all-timer. I mean, it's still worth playing Resident Evil 2 Remake, but don't go into expecting the game to be completely different, because it's not.
No, it dawned on me, it's like, I've never played, it's the same way, like, I've never played Chris Redfield in RE1. I've never played Leon in RE2, so I'm changing things up. I'm switching it up now.
Guys, this is not part of the top 30 list, and I am excited. And I don't want to hear any more about Resident Evil 2, so let's wrap this up.
I suppose I yield the rest of my time.
That's it. Well, I'll tell you what I've been playing. All right, I have been playing and
Cardinal
finished.
wasn't going to ask.
Service with a Shotgun. I finished it.
Oh, right.
Still conflicted about it. It had its moments, but it's half visual novel, half static first-person shooter. And at the end, it takes a turn that I was not expecting it to take. But I don't know. I have issues with this game. Is it bad? No. Is it the best visual novel I've ever played? No. But the review's coming, so I will.
What is the best visual novel you've ever played?
That's a good one. I think we had this discussion with Alpha Chrome when he was on. Ace Attorney series is probably the best visual novel series I've ever played.
I do quite like the Ace Attorney games.
I know some people don't consider Ace Attorney a visual novel, but it is. That's all I'm saying. And if you disagree with that, leave a comment. Tell me why I'm wrong, why Ace Attorney isn't a visual novel. But I'm going to tell you right now, I will reply. And
good question.
I will not change my mind
in the chat as well. Is Professor Layton on the DS series? Is that a visual novel?
Yeah. See now,
broad strokes.
Professor Layton and Ace Attorney follow the same sort of pattern of visual novel storytelling and then a puzzle. I would say Professor Layton, yeah, I would. It's half visual novel, half puzzle game. I
quite like the Professor Layton games, and there seems to be thousands of them as well.
Some of them were really good, others were really bad. But yeah, Cardinal's getting bored.
Producer Cardinal is in her ear now.
Yeah, Cardinal's getting bored. That's what I've been playing. Review is coming sometime this week. But now, Cardinal Smith.
Wow, that's great.
To get back to our top 30 PlayStation moments over the last 30 years. I feel it's only right that we should recap 30 down to 16 one last time.
In massive detail as well.
Yeah, so number 30 was Halo and other Xbox games coming to PlayStation. 29 was Raiden being the main character in Metal Gear Solid 2. 28 was the Astrobot series. 27 was the Society Against PlayStation Adverts. 26 was PlayStation hitting 100 million sales. 25 was the PSP. 24 was Tomb Raider 1. 23 was Journey. 22 was the Killzone 2005 E3 trailer. 21 was PSN getting hacked.
Good times.
20 was Kratos getting the Blades of Chaos in 2018 God of War. 19 was the Kevin Butler advert campaign. 18 was God of War 3 Climbing Gaia. 17 was the original PlayStation 1 trinity of Crash, Lara Croft, Spyro, and 16 was PT. So that brings us on lovely to start discussing our top 15 moments of PlayStation over the last 30 years. So let's not waste any more of our listeners' time, and perhaps more importantly, any more of Cardinal's time, because it's very precious tonight.
It's very busy, man, it seems.
So
we're just pretending to be a producer tonight. That's all.
So
Enough Resident Evil chat, am I right?
I mean,
when you hear what number 15 is,
a lot of people over the last few months will say, was Cardinal not always a producer because he's seldom on camera? But let's get to number 5. Okay, Cardinal, we're here. The top 15 moments of PlayStation over the last 30 years. And number 15, I think we can all agree, is not only a seminal moment in video games, but it is a seminal moment in cinematic history, horror history, Resident Evil history. I am, of course, talking about Taz in Resident Evil 1. For the uninitiated, Taz is the turning around zombie, the first appearance of a zombie in the Resident Evil franchise. This is, of course, the zombie eating Kenneth on the first floor, just through the dining room of the Spencer Mansion. An incredible moment in video game history.
You see, my memory of this is only ever playing like the GameCube remake of this. So I kind of missed the boat on original Resident Evil, but I can see, I haven't watched it back and like on the OG on the PlayStation on YouTube and all that kind of stuff for this prep. I can see how this is such a big moment because you've this probably is one of the first few games that have like a really deep and intense narrative, and to have like this cinematic, like actual real life feel coming into the game. That is all fixed cameras and heavily polygoned and stuff like that. Probably, I can imagine for you, Lova, seeing that for the first time would have blown your mind.
Oh, it blew my mind. It was, I don't know if many people remember this or if it was just a UK thing, but there was a Resident Evil 1 rolling demo. Remember those rolling demos on the official PlayStation magazine? And every act of violence had a big box over the top of the blood and the guns and stuff, and just said censored. So there was a lot of stuff that it was hinted at in these rolling demos, but you didn't know what you were looking at because it had a big censored box over the top of it. So those trailers always ended with like the slow peel away while the zombie is eating someone on the ground.
Right.
But you couldn't see it until you played the game. But when that happened in the game, it is incredible because you go through the door of the dining room into that. It's the West Wing,
little corridor, isn't it? Yeah, and then it's like a little foyer part.
Yeah, no, it's the West Wing in the remake that leads you to the second staircase that brings you to the library. But in the original game, it's just a room with a corridor with 3 doors, and one's a shield key, I think. And you hear noise, but you don't know what it is. It just sounds like a crunching, like a, and you don't know what it is. And you walk into the room, and seamlessly for 1995, 96, it cuts to this cutscene of the zombie turn around with blood on his face and Kenneth's body under it. It's just an awesome moment. It is a seminal horror moment, not just in video games, but just in the medium completely. It's just a fantastic, fantastic part. It was the first time I really remember thinking to myself, video games, now the PlayStation is definitely it's not for kids. It isn't for kids. And
because I remember
10-year-old lover.
I know that's it. This is one of those games you probably got and were told, just don't tell your mom. But I remember whenever like we had Evan Saba on for our Resi 3 episode, and obviously by the time he'd come around to being on that, it was like, oh, Resident Evil's just come out, and it's like really it has just changed the game as like there is cinematics in the game as well. There is like choice narrative, and the graphics are just a huge step up from like, you know, some of the basic platformers that had come into the PlayStation 1 then. So yeah, I can 100% back this. Like I missed the boat massively on this one, but yeah, looking back, you can well appreciate like the lengths that they've gone in such a small space of time for these games coming out at this era in the 90s.
Yeah.
I remember this when I was seeing it for the first time, watching my brother play it. The part that jumped out for me with Resident Evil 1 was the little beastie thing that jumps through the window as you run down a corridor
the
and
dogs,
scared
yeah.
Oh, the dogs, yeah.
And the dogs, was that it? Yeah, just scared the beans out of me. But that point there, when you first see like the body getting munched on, was kind of like, gee, this is violent. This is
Yeah, it was just it's the moment for me. Yeah, it's a toss up between that and the dogs bursting through the windows. I think, yeah, what I like about this one is it's not a jump scare that they build to it, and I think it's a really effective piece of horror. I mean, people always say Resident Evil is the first survival horror. It wasn't, but it was the first one to lock down the formula, and it was the first one to give it a name. This is survival horror. But yeah, number 15 is Resident Evil 1, the first zombie reveal. I think it's an incredible moment. So this brings us on to number 14. Now, number 14 is a controversial one because it isn't a moment. It is a period of time that was 3 to 6 months. I am, of course, talking about the PlayStation 2's 2001 release schedule, which I have lovingly called the golden age of the PlayStation 2. Now, for people who weren't around for the 2001 fall and holiday, the autumn and winter 2001, this is what Sony were bringing to the table. But it's crazy. Between August and December, you had Ace Combat 3, I think it was. You have Baldur's Gate, Dark Alliance, Devil May Cry 1, Final Fantasy X, Gran Turismo 3 A-Spec, Grand Theft Auto 3, Eco, Jak and Daxter, Metal Gear Solid 2, Silent Hill 2.
Did you see Devil May Cry in there too?
Games as well. Pretty much all of those games I owned as well. And it's funny when you say these all happened in like 2001. I remember just the games appearing in our house and into our like subsequent PlayStation library. But when you actually think huge hit in games like GTA 3, Gran Turismo 3, and Final Fantasy X as well, all kind of coming into that same window. Games were just a different time. Back then, it came out when it came out. There's none of this like we're getting it now saying like the GTA 6 is the perfect example. It's like people are holding release windows because they don't want to compete anymore, whereas now they're just like, oh, back then there was like they will play everything.
I mean, yeah. Yeah, there was a lot less risk for a lot of reasons back in the day. Like, but that is, we always bang on about what was great years in video gaming. 2008 gets brought up a lot. 2017 gets brought up a lot as well.
1998 gets pushed by me.
Yeah,
quite heavily.
The only thing I could think of from was Resident Evil 2 and Metal Gear Solid in 98.
A Half-Life and various things.
Okay, yeah. But 2001 is right up there with like one of the greatest years in video games. And the best part of all these games, they're available everywhere now. Mostly all these games were PlayStation 2 exclusive. Yeah. All of them. Which is mad when you think about it. If you said to me a winter period that had GTA 3, Devil May Cry, and Silent Hill 2, you're thinking, yeah, that's a pretty great Christmas. And then there's 9 other games on top of that. You're just thinking, wow. Yeah. Sony really had Sega's neck under their boot, and they were jumping on it. this is the year that ended the Dreamcast.
There's
Wow,
currently
yeah.
there's still for 2001 PS2 games. There's 15 games that are currently and still 90 and above on Metacritic. Like 15,
That sounds about right.
It's
and
just
that doesn't include some of the games you've mentioned. So,
yeah, yeah. Tony Hawk 3 be upper.
It's this idea, as we just sort of said, like the release window doesn't really matter at this point. It's like we have the market share now, and if they're putting out all these exclusives, like they were selling so well, like the consoles themselves are selling so well. Like I think later on we'll slightly talk about it, but we ended up having like 3 PlayStations in our house at one time, and we were all getting like our different games tailor whatever for whatever we were wanting at the time anyway. So like, and they were so cheap and accessible effectively at that point as well. So yeah, why the hell not? When these execs are making this decision, just like release them all, let them all buy them.
Yeah, I think one of the big things is 2001, very different gaming landscape. There wasn't as many games being released as what there is now. There was no Steam. There was really no indie developers. Really, like not like we know today, where a guy in a bedroom is pumping out these games and putting them on Steam. You know what I mean? Games got released, and you find out about them from TV or magazines, and everyone typically everyone in your friends group played the same sort of games, if not exactly the same titles, you know, that sort of way. But no, 2001, not taking anything away from it, it's an incredible year for gaming, and Sony were at the forefront of it with an absolutely competitor killing lineup. It was insanely good.
I'm just looking at the schedules of release. So in the summer, July, Gran Turismo 3 releases, and I'm playing that. You hit October, Grand Theft Auto 3 is released.
I'm
immediately playing that. The next month is Metal Gear Solid 2.
Yep.
So I have to switch over that. The next month is Final Fantasy 10. I can't keep up.
Yeah.
Let's talk about our backlogs now. Could you imagine like the backlogs at that point? Well, like for me, 10-year-old Tomahawk doesn't really care about backlogs. He's just playing. You're just playing everything. And as you say, it's probably your friends are playing in the same game in circles at least anyway. So if you don't have that title, someone else has it, and you're just walking your controller across the road to go play it anyway.
Yeah. Or your console
or your whole console underarm.
Yeah.
Great shout for one of the top 30 moments, definitely.
I agree. 100%. I agree. And this brings us on to number 13. Number 13 is a change in tone for these finest moments in PlayStation history. I am, of course, talking about the opening to The Last of Us, which is, spoiler alert, I'm going to count from 3 down to 0, and then I'm going to say what the spoiler is. 3, 2, 1. It's Sarah's death. Sarah's death in The Last of Us. It is just... I remember playing that in 2013, that game come out, and it was like, wow, that is daring for a video game. And then when I played the remaster, it hit just as hard. And then when I played the part 1 fairly recently, it hits extremely
it doesn't
hard.
Go away. No matter how many times you play that game, no matter how many times you play that intro, you know it's happening. You know you can mentally prep for it, and you know that you can like go, oh, it's just a game. And no, I've never experienced a cold opening like that. I mean, you kind of get this situation where everything's kind of fallen to wreck and ruin pretty much like in the moment.
Right in front of you, yeah.
But you don't expect it to kind of gut punch you before the title credits even hit.
Before the splash screen hits, that's it. And it's like, it's one of those ones because the game opens and you are Sarah wandering around the house looking for Joel.
Yeah.
And then the neighbor comes rampaging through.
I've never played anything quite like it. Like even you talk about intro, like daft intros like GTA 3, it has, I say, a cold open and not so much. Your character's there just bumbling about. He then breaks out of the having his heist and then gets shot, and then next thing you know, it flashes to white, and then the game just starts. So there's no like, you can't like sympathize with the character. You can't relate to the character straight away. Whereas like Naughty Dog did this brilliant thing, and they went, look, let's take this moment, this normal American moment here, but let's whip that away from you.
Yeah.
And then we're going to flash forward 20 years.
Yeah, it is an incredible like disarming moment for the player, because it completely disarms you, because you start off as Sarah, and then the control jumps to Joel, and when you start controlling Joel, it's the panic has set in, and you as the player are panicking because, as you say, the city is crumbling around you. There's zombies rampaging through the streets, and you're trying to get your daughter to safety, and then it happens in a particularly brutal fashion as well. And then it gives you that moment to digest what you've just seen. And then the time period flashes forward.
Yeah.
But the game doesn't start. It's a very directed, like, second cold opening for the world building and establishing what is going on. And, you get about a 20-minute, maybe 25-minute period from Sarah's death to the game starting proper, and it allows you that time to sort of digest what you've seen, how you feel about it, and it makes it very clear how Joel feels about it, because if my memory serves me correctly, when it happens, The Last of Us pops up and it says 20 years later, and the opening scene starts at him wearing the watch.
It just kind of
it pulls out from his watch.
Yeah. And then he just kind of gets on with his day, basically, as his smuggling job. But this is probably like, we talk about this a few times when we bring up The Last of Us. This is the first time that I remember these games kind of being like cinematic then, as opposed to it leans more to cinematic than it does to gaming. In this instance, you're just the avatar who drives the next cutscene, basically.
I don't know. It's the Naughty Dog formula, like from Uncharted. So it is. I mean, it's not dramatic, apart from tone and direction. It's not dramatically different from what Naughty Dog were doing with Uncharted. And even if you want, you can take it back further. It's not much different from what they tried with Jak 3.
All right, okay.
It's just the perfection of their craft. It's a fantastic moment. It's one of the most gut-punching moments I've ever experienced in video games, and it's just pure cinema. It is pure cinema. Yeah. It really is.
I think
cinematic
for it being effectively the last game on the PlayStation 3 library, I think they basically knew they had to go out and do something so different and so out there and leave such a good impression. And what are we, like 600 remakes in?
I mean, just one more. That's all we need.
That's it. I mean, how many frames can we squeeze in? But yeah, absolutely, 100% agree. It's there, but it's not quite there for top moments.
Which is incredible when you think about it. This just shows you the strength of the top 10, really. So number 12 then is another ground-breaking moment for cinema in video games. I am, of course, talking about the Metal Gear Solid 2 tanker level. Cardinal, take it away,
Sons
mate.
of Liberty. What can I say? Picture the scene. It's 2001. I'm running home from school, and the disc is thwacked into the PS2, and you witness these opening credits rolling. Snake whipping off his Mac, jumping down electric onto a tanker, looking up. Roll credits.
This Snake. Can you read me out of can?
It's so good. Can I just say, the first time I saw Metal Gear Solid 2 was on a Games Master magazine DVD where they had taken game trailers from E3, and the first one was the Metal Gear Solid. I had never seen a game look that good. Just Snake walking through, basically it's Manhattan in the rain, smoking a cigarette, and as you say, just whips off his coat and that, like, whoa, and then just swan dives off a bridge onto a tank.
But the music,
it's incredible.
Bombs in. This is Harry Gregson Williams soundtrack on this, and it's electrifying.
Oh, it's so good. Look, It took away from this, like, it stopped being like a spy film, or like it stopped having the spy feel, and it went into like a full blown like cool action vibe, really, for me. And then he straight away is like, "Oh no, I'm the snake that you know, but I'm going to do something dramatic first." That scene from the bridge to the tanker is brilliant, and it's yeah, I remember it. I remember it very, very well.
Yeah, it was just an incredible moment. Even we can extend this to the full level.
Yes.
Like the boss fight at the end of that, whose name escapes me, the female.
Golukovich.
Yeah, thank you. But she's pregnant, so you can fight her with the trank darts.
I think you have to fight her with the trank darts. Yeah.
It's just a fantastic piece of game design. Even the bit where you have to take the photos of Metal Gear Ray and all this here business, it's just so good.
Or magazine pictures inside lockers.
Oh, yeah, of course. But it's just, I mean, Metal Gear Solid 1 was 1998. This is 2001. And even just playing through that tanker demo, it just showed how far technology had come in 3 short years, and it was a generational leap, and it was one of the biggest generational leaps I have ever experienced. And I'm someone who came from the Sega Mega Drive to the Dreamcast, effectively within 9 years of one another. It was enormous. It felt next level. People always talk about killer apps. Is the game a system seller? Metal Gear Solid 2 was a legitimate systems seller. People bought a PlayStation 2 specifically to play a PlayStation 2 to play Metal Gear Solid 2. And I have no doubt in my mind it was a lot of those people bought it based on that DVD that they got inside Games Master magazine. It's just an incredible moment. And it's just from everything you said there about the Last of Us, the cinematic value of Sarah's death. Like the introduction of Snake in Metal Gear Solid 2 is pure cheesy spy movie cinema. It's just it's incredible. Just everything about it, the technology behind it, the storytelling behind it, the graphic design, the sound design, just everything about Metal Gear Solid 2, incredible.
Especially when you have to take Snake from Metal Gear Solid into this like detailed 3D model, and actually give him like the scowl in his eyebrows and like the detail in his beard and stuff like that. Even just like the swoosh of his bandana and stuff is like, you have to go hard on that. And I think it hit every sort of detail, even the cigarette flick as well. And I think Kojima he does that in loads of different games as well, that like close up of the cigarette and you always just see it leave the hand, like,
and the rudimentary motion blur. Yeah, just duplicates the cigarette in slightly different positions. It just looks awesome. The whole thing, incredible generational leap. That was just
that's one way to definitely to describe it. Like, as you say, 3 years to pull that out.
Incredible.
They must have had a PlayStation 2 baited or something like years before, like or access to it for years.
Oh, absolutely. You don't whip that out in a year. No way.
No.
Especially because they had to redesign the finale of that because of the 9/11 terror attacks.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
So they did. So yeah, what a game! What a reveal! That is number 12. So number 11 then brings us to another technological marvel, but from a different generation of PlayStation. We're going back in time to PlayStation 1. We're going back to 1995. I am, of course, talking about Demo 1, and specifically the T-Rex demo / the Manta Ray demo. Now, let me tell you. All right, let me tell you. First thing I did when I got my PlayStation 1 was, there's a disc in here. Let's play this disc. And it was Demo 1. And there was just one. I just had T-Rex. And I remember opening it, and it was just literally a void with a big old model of a T-Rex. I, again, had never seen anything like it. You know, I went from the Mega Drive to the PlayStation 1 overnight. You know, on Christmas Eve, I was playing Mortal Kombat 2 on my Sega Mega Drive. The next morning, there's a PlayStation with Ridge Racer and Cyber Sled under the Christmas tree. Incredible moments. But the T-Rex demo was incredible. It was like just a proof of concept. This is how many polygons this thing can push. And it looked, I mean, it looks really rudimentary now, but in 1995, I can tell you right now, it blew my mind. My mind was well and truly open to the elements for a very, very, very long period of time. And then straight under that, there was one called the Manta Ray demo. The Manta Ray demo is probably the more impressive one of the two, because it takes place in an underwater scene rather than a black void. And, you know, you control a manta ray, you control the camera, you can rotate around both of these things. But the underwater scene has other fish and stuff. And to my very young eyes, the manta ray one looked photorealistic in 1995. I was like, wow, this is incredible. And the music that played during both demos, it was just proof of concept. This is, for me, I think in our notes
you get
here,
yourself into
for in my notes here, this is the moment where I realized 3D gaming is the future, because it just looked, wow, a generational leap. Again, a generational. It was just, I had never seen a game like that good. Never. It was just incredible.
Like, I've seen this and I've seen the videos and I've seen like, it is proof of concept. It is effectively like your early days, like tech demo of like, look how good this is. Look how good these games are going to be in like moments of isolation. My only real like hands-on dealings with the T-Rex from the PlayStation 1 is the Astro's Playroom boss.
Yeah.
Where he gets churned in through like the Team Asobi up-res, and you have to fight.
It's so good.
And then he just has now become he nearly has become like a mainstay villain in the Astrobot series, because he keeps cropping up in different like locations there, and I feel bad for him now, but that's my experience of
I mean, what a way to experience it for the first time. Even the music in that boss fight is the music it played in demo 1. So it is.
But it is like, you start off and you see it's the heavy polygon, like, you know, the real harsh edges and stuff, and next thing you know, he like falls away, or you move the platform or whatever it is, and the next thing you know, you get the Astrobot version of it. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, that's cool. I mean, that's a lovely touch and a lovely nod there. But yeah, I can see, like, I think Dino Crisis when I see it, and I'm just like, I feel as if they just took that and then plopped it straight into Dino Crisis as well.
It's funny you say that, because the Dino Crisis T-Rex that was in an actual game looks better than the Demo 1 T-Rex.
Oh, okay.
It looks better. They have like musculature and stuff like that, where the Demo 1 was just raw polygons. But no, as a demo to showcase the power of the PlayStation 1. I think I said this in my Christmas Memories episode. My uncle, who always had like the best stuff, didn't have a PlayStation 1, and he came to our house on Boxing Day and was like, oh, I hear you had a PlayStation, Chris, let's go see it. And the first thing we put on for him was the T-Rex, and he's like, oh wow, that's incredible. I think he went and bought one in the January sales after seeing the T-Rex and then seeing and playing Ridge Racer. I mean, who wouldn't want to buy a PlayStation after playing Ridge Racer? Let's be honest here. It is incredible. But that is number 11. I'm just going to put it down as Demo 1. The T-Rex and the Manta Ray demos were incredible. Which brings us on to...
And nobody buys it without demo discs.
It was
and those games.
All free. All free.
I like that idea, though, that it was already in the disc tray. Like,
no, it wasn't a disc tray.
Oh, was it not? Okay, that
came in a cardboard cover. It was lovely. It was a really nice thing to get. It was a foldable jewel case, effectively, but it was really nice. I had loads of stuff on it. It had like a load of rolling demos and a couple of playable demos. Like, it had Rayman as a playable demo, and Destruction Derby was a playable demo as well. But just a great demo disc all around. But this brings us on to our top 10, gentlemen. We are in the business end of the list. So in at number 10, the editor can put in some Top of the Pops music here. In at number 10 is the debut of the DualShock controller in 1997.
Time we get to twist those knobs.
Like,
Do you remember when the dual analog came out? Because it was dual analog first, and then a few months later, the DualShock came out. How revolutionary it was, and
I do remember a stark difference. This is like the episode 1 stories of the podcast here now. It's like the dentist that we had the PlayStation in the waiting room, and that was for like the kids and all that and it had Spyro and Crash 3 and stuff in it. But I always remember it having the first controller.
Yeah,
and
with
then
no analog.
With no analog.
Yeah.
And then I remember it getting the dual analog controller. And then I remember it because it had the button to turn the shock on and off.
The button it wasn't the analog button. You turned on or off the analog sticks.
Oh God, do you remember the time? Do you remember that's how we used to live?
It was the analog button.
Incredible. And then the whole idea of like, oh, the controller buzzed when I did something, or like when I was attacked. Like it was the first time that you kind of were able to put a sensory feel to what was going on in the game. And awesome.
A game changer. It wasn't the first to do like vibration at all. I mean, you could buy vibration controllers on the Mega Drive and the Super Nintendo and stuff. Nor was it the first to have an analog stick either. Because I mean, even the Atari in the late 70s had an analog joystick.
Yeah.
But what I think is important about the DualShock controller is it was the first to package both of them together. Plus, it was the first controller to have 2 analog sticks, which has become the standard for video games. Every controller since, except the Steam controller, has had 2 analog sticks. Now they're placed in different positions. Don't get me wrong. I mean, the analog sticks in the Xbox are asymmetrical and stuff. But the DualShock controller was so good and so perfectly designed for triggers, 4 analog face buttons, 2 analog sticks. That is the standard, and this had to come from PlayStation. And the and you think about when the DualShock came out, it launched alongside Ape Escape. And Ape Escape was only playable if you had a DualShock controller, and it was an incredible time. It was a wild time to be alive, and you could use a DualShock with every game in the library. The vibration didn't work in older games, and the analogs didn't work either. That's why it had the toggle switch on and off, so you could still play your digital games and stuff like that. But no, just an incredible controller. And and you think about the design of the DualShock in 1997. Sony have never dramatically changed the design of their controller at all. The DualSense is probably the biggest departure, but in essence, it's still the same shape. The buttons are all still in the same location.
Yeah.
It's never changed because it didn't have to change, because it was a great piece of engineering and an even better research and development cycle with it. It's just an incredible controller, and it changed video gaming. Totally.
Yeah, it's a laugh when we sort of talk about the controllers as well, because while everyone else had their PlayStations and stuff, we had like our N64, and you talk about like innovation in the market and stuff. And I remember the N64 just being the plastic, and then you had the control. They had the bottom had the actual memory pack that went into the controller.
Yeah.
And then obviously there's a market shift with like the DualShock and all that kind of stuff. So the Nintendo then developed the Rumble pack.
Yep.
Which the caveat was you could plug the memory card. You had to unplug your memory card effectively.
Yeah, you could have one or the other.
You could either have haptic feedback, or early doors haptic feedback, or rumble feedback, or whatever, or you could save your game. But you can't do both.
Yeah, which was troublesome when there was some games that didn't have battery saves.
Yeah.
And supported vibration function. And you're like, okay. So Sega had the same issue as well, because the Dreamcast controller, you slot it in the vibration pack into the controller, but they give it 2 slots, one for a VMU, one for the vibration pack, whatever it was, or the microphone for Seaman or whatever. It was a wild time. People were just trying everything, but we have to thank Nintendo for a lot here. people say, it was the first analog stick on a games console. I would argue that it wasn't. It was the first sort of main use of, and they were the first ones to call it the analog stick. But Sony put two of them on, and we've never looked back. There's no controllers being released with one analog stick. There's certainly no controllers being released with three bloody stems and stalks and a Z button in the back. What was that about? Nintendo, we have to thank them for a lot, but controller design is never going to be something I'm going to thank Nintendo for.
I'm going to have to put a picture in Discord about how I hold an N64 controller, because if you see it, you'll all have a fit. Just, join our Discord if you want to see how that looks like.
Yeah, but the DualShock controller, incredible. And if it wasn't for Sony releasing the DualShock in 1987, we never would have got Alien Resurrection in 1999. Now, you're thinking...
Right. Bridge that gap for me then.
Okay, so Alien Resurrection was a licensed video game based on the movie of the same title. Now, it wasn't very good. What was good about it? It was the first game to use dual analogs the way we use dual analogs. One was for walking, the other one was for aiming, and the shoulder buttons were for shooting. It got ripped to shreds in reviews because its control scheme would never catch on.
Look at us now.
Look at us now. Look at us now. If it wasn't for Alien Resurrection, I don't know if Halo would have had the control scheme it did. And it all stems from 1997's dual analog / DualShock controller, one of the most important video game controllers ever released. Incredible piece of hardware. But that's number 10. And you can see the sort of caliber of moments we're going for here in our top 10. The top 10's pretty massive. In at number 9 is the train sequence from Uncharted 2. What an opener.
We talk about like the Naughty Dog formula of here's a cold opening. Something else. And it's just like you're there, you're falling off to the back of the train, it is hanging off the edge of a cliff. Figure it out, guys. But we're then going to get you to the top of that train, and it's all going to jump back off again. And the next carriage is going to fall off.
It's so good. It is.
Sounds very Indiana Jones-esque.
Oh, absolutely.
100%. Yeah.
But it's like, it's not just because of like how the game opens and that. It's very much like the train, like, it's like nearly a character in its own right, because you start off in the train and you do a flashback on how you get to the train, and then basically it's like a narrative engine in its own right. And a lot of the major set pieces in the game take place on this train in a wreck or otherwise.
I mean, it's so good, because if memory serves me, the game opens up with Nathan Drake waking up, and he's just sitting on a train seat, and it's all very normal until the camera does what the camera does, and it sort of twists and turns and pulls out, and you realize that Nathan Drake is sitting on a train seat, but the train carriage is vertical, hanging off a cliff.
Yeah.
And then you have to climb your way out. It is such a good sequence that Tom Cruise completely steals it, almost beat for beat, in the second last Mission Impossible movie. It is the train sequence from Uncharted 2.
No, it was absolutely. I remember seeing that myself and going, that is pretty much cut and dry, taken from that game.
100%. So when we talk about cinematic moments in video games, this is a moment in a video game that has made its way to the cinema via Tom Cruise and the Mission Impossible franchise. It is a great opening sequence. It looks fantastic. It showed the like Drake's Fortune is a game that has a lot of promise, but it's rough, like really rough. Uncharted 2, realizes the potential that the Uncharted has a franchise, and it all stems from that superb opening. And we've talked about cinematics in video games. This is the one where you can say, actually, this like narrative sort of obsession that Naughty Dog have. It could be the future of video games, and it is. It's just an incredible sequence, and it's fun to watch, even if you're not playing it. It's a great sequence to watch. It is not challenging because it's all about the spectacle of what's going on around you, but it's just fantastic. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. It's one of the finest moments in video game history, let alone PlayStation history. Uncharted 2, what a video game it is. It's just fantastic.
Definitely as well. We covered it in Game of the Month, so if you want to go check that out, please do. If you haven't, I mean, it's our show. We can do what we want here.
I would say it's a great episode. I don't remember covering Uncharted 2. It's a great
remember
episode.
there being an Uncharted 2 episode.
I might listen to that episode.
Dear. Right, but let's move up the list here.
Number 8.
To be fair, this is the 140th. Anyway, sorry, number 8.
There's been many before, yeah.
In at number 8 is the PlayStation 3's launch price. Much like the PSN hack, this is not a good moment for PlayStation, but it is a really important one. So for people who
makes the top 8.
It's hugely important. I think this is the point in history that shapes how Sony are going to market their PlayStation 4, which was night and day different. So for people who can't remember, when the PlayStation 3 launched, there was 2 versions of it. There was a 20 gig and a 60 gig?
60 gig, yeah.
A 40 gig and a 60 gig, sorry. So they had 2 different launch prices. One was, I think it was $499, and the 60 gig was $599, which was an absolutely absurd amount of money in 2006. And Sony paid the price for it because the PlayStation 3 couldn't have got off to a worse start. And it had them scrambling. It had them scrambling for a few years. And then someone somewhere grabbed the wheel of the great ship PlayStation and charted a course to bring it to success. I think this was a moment. Now, the PlayStation 3, for all of its faults, is a hugely impressive machine to be released in 2006. I know people always say, look at the Xbox. The Xbox 360 isn't too far behind it. In raw computing power, 360 is miles behind the PlayStation 3 on paper and benchmarks. The PlayStation 3, hugely impressive. It was a Trojan horse for the Blu-ray disc as well.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of things inside the PlayStation 3 that Sony probably couldn't have dropped the price much lower than what they did. They were still selling it at a loss. At $600 was a loss for them. So you think about the things that were inside that. So you had the original PlayStation 3 fat was so big because it had a full PlayStation 2 board inside it. That's how it had backwards compatibility with PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 1.
Right, okay.
And then you had
Makes
the
sense,
Cell processor, which was a bespoke processor that had so much silicone in it. It was extremely expensive. And then you had the Blu-ray disc. Now, Blu-ray players in 2006 were about £800 by themselves. So you're buying a games console with a hugely expensive chip, hugely expensive RAM, and you're asking £600. Was £600 a good price in 2006 for the PlayStation 3? All things considered, yes. And I can see why.
When you're effectively getting 3 consoles, a Blu-ray player, all sort of wrapped up into one package. When you put it out like that and break it down, you make it sound so reasonable.
It's a pretty good deal, but is anyone spending $600 on a console? Not in 2006. Not today.
Wasn't there something with the backwards compatible PlayStations that they had some known fault in them that basically made them like walking time bombs as well?
The yellow light of death, yeah.
So anyone who buys those and even buys them secondhand and stuff, their backwards compatibility is on borrowed time effectively, and has been since launch.
The PlayStation 2 backwards compatibility, yes. The PlayStation 1 backwards compatibility, no, because the PlayStation 1 backwards compatibility in the non-60, in the slims and super slims, is using like FPGA mixed with emulation.
Right. Okay.
So the purest way of playing your PlayStation 1 games on PlayStation 3 is with a FAT, but you can play PlayStation 1 on any other three of them. You just can't play PlayStation 2 on the slims or the super slims. But yeah, so that's what they did. I can't remember who was it Dom? It wasn't, what did you call him? I can't remember. I can see his face though. Dark haired fellow with a beard. I think he was head of PlayStation at this time, and he was like, right, let's start cutting things out of this. Let's cut out the PlayStation 2 board. Let's get rid of the backwards compatibility for PlayStation 2. Let's cut out what we can left, right, and center, and start saving money in this thing and start cutting the price. And they cut the price down from, I think it was 600 to, well, I think over here it was 479.
Right.
And they cut it down to 399, and then it quickly went to 299. And just what coincided with all this was obviously Kevin Butler, which was what, number 23 on our list.
Something like that. Yeah.
You had his adverts, you had the price cut, you had all of a sudden you had Naughty Dog bringing out Uncharted 2, Uncharted 3, The Last of Us. You had Sony Santa Monica bringing out God of War 3. You had Ratchet and Clank. You had so much coming out for
4.
Metal Gear Solid 4 came out. You had Assassin's Creed. You had all these games, and they were all, especially the PlayStation exclusive like Gran Turismo 6 and all this here business, were all extremely high quality games. And they took what was an awful launch and they started making the value prospect better and better with every passing year, until suddenly you have PlayStation Plus launching in 2010. You were given 2 free games a month. You were given X, Y, and Z. The PlayStation 3 had free multiplayer. You didn't have to have PlayStation Plus to play multiplayer because it was free. And it was just this incredible value prospect all of a sudden. And it ended up selling more than the Xbox 360 did. The Xbox 360 had 1 extra year in the market and it was significantly cheaper. But the PlayStation 3 still overtook it by the end. And I think they learned an awful lot from this PlayStation 3 launch price. And they knew we cannot do that again. And it informed how they made their hardware from that moment forward. Gone were these bespoke chipsets like the Emotion Engine in the PlayStation 2, the Cell processor in the PlayStation 3, and all of a sudden the PlayStation 4 comes out and it has basically off the shelves PC parts. And which brings me on lovely to number 7, which is this is how you share your games on PlayStation 4, which is probably one of the most brutal takedowns of a corporation from another corporation I have ever seen. This was, of course, 2013 E3, which was the reveal of the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4. Xbox went first, and their Xbox One reveal was horrendous. You remember that was Don Matrick. And at the end of that conference, which was all TV, you have to be always online. You can't share your games.
It's online.
Everything's locked to your console. Once you put a disc in, that game's locked to your console. You can't resell it. You can't share it. You can't do this. Your console needs to be online once a day. When you set up your console, it has to be online. You have to it has to come with a Kinect. The Kinect is very important to this thing. It was underpowered. There was a lot wrong with the Xbox One reveal. And then after that press conference, he was talking to IGN, and they asked a question of him, and they're like, what if you don't want any of these online features? What if you just want to play games, but you don't want to always have to be online? He's like, well, we have a product for those people, and it's called an Xbox 360, and it's still available. That was brutal. And then an hour or two later, PlayStation come out, and that was when they unveiled their slogan for the PlayStation 4, which was just for the players. And I remember distinctly, it was about halfway through their big conference, and it was like other manufacturers are making their, locking their hardware down and making it hard for you to share your games. How do you share games on PlayStation 4? And then it goes boom, and you have that video. It's like, here's your game. Thank you. Savage. But all these little moves that PlayStation did, ensuring that this is a games console. yes, it can do other things, but the focus that PlayStation focused on completely in E3 2013 was the games. This is how you share them. This is your controller. This is the value prospect. Don't forget the PlayStation 4 was £100 cheaper than the Xbox One. All these moves came together and made the PlayStation 4 the third or fourth best-selling games console of all time.
Yeah.
I think all this, you can tie in number 8 and number 7 together because they're inextricably linked. They made so many mistakes with the PlayStation 3, and every mistake they made with the PlayStation 3, they completely went the opposite way with the PlayStation 4, and it paid off massive for them. I think you had Phil Spencer about 2 years ago talking about getting people away from PlayStation. He's like, we never are. We lost the worst games generation to lose, where everyone built a digital library of games. They're gone forever. Sony won that generation in a landslide.
Hands down. Yeah.
In a landslide.
Without really having to try either.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah. But you say enough like trying. PlayStation 4's games library is one of the best games library of any console ever made.
Too right.
The PlayStation 4. I mean, I know this is how you share your games. Proud little moment. This could just be the PlayStation 4. The reveal of the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 4 in general. What a console. What a console. I think in all of our lists when we were ranking the PlayStation consoles, all of us had the PlayStation 4 at number 2.
Yeah, that's very true. It was pretty much there. Had to be there. Right. What is Incredible. On number 6 then?
Number 6 is a spoiler alert for a 1997 game by the name of Final Fantasy VII. If you haven't played that game, I'm going to count down from 3, 2, 1. It is Aerith's death.
Sorry, Tomahawk.
I figured
if you haven't got that far, I'm sorry.
No. I figured something was going to happen. I knew it was. To be fair, when we were compiling this list and I saw it, I went, I think I already knew that, but that's confirmed.
Yeah, when I put this list together, I didn't think of redacting it to like a character's death.
How much did it send shockwaves to Cardinal Smith, though? This is all I want to know about because I imagine this kind of comes in. If I have to put this in like the remake trilogy, this is the end of Rebirth, I imagine, or near enough.
Let's just say straight up, Rebirth. You play it because the possibility is it's different and things are changed, and they do change things.
Oh, okay.
So that is the reason why I plowed through Rebirth. But let's bring it back to the OG. And as we said in 1997, try and picture the moment. I'll try and paint it. It's a little quiet, sacred place. Aerith is kneeling, praying, and attempting to save the world through a previously useless piece of materia, and she's got fantastic hair physics going on, which suddenly clips to a CGI scene. And the one thing that strikes is there is no music; it's just silence, and there's a slight whoosh as Sephiroth descends from the sky with a sword longer than the list of my unplayed backlog. In one strike, and no quick time event, no chance to dodge, and no Phoenix down, Aerith is gone. So I sat there for quite a long time being pretty stunned, and you don't know how to recover that because it's the shock of it. It's not just a character dying, you can revive them. Games didn't do that back then, not to main character, not without warning.
Everyone survives, everyone happily ever after, that kind of thing. Like, so yeah, I can only imagine
loophole or a way to get them back. And you spend hours leveling Aerith, and she's your healer, she's your support in the party, and that's fine. One moment takes it away. No, not with drama or fanfare. Silence, and then flows in after the blow a softly played Aerith theme, which is like a gentle piano piece of music, as we see the after effects of what she was trying to pray for play out. And it was a culture event.
Oh, it was,
Yeah, there's still there was rumors of ways you could save her. You could get a Game Shark code, or your cousin, managed to breed a special chocobo method that let you go to a secret island and you get Aerith back. None of it was true. Sephiroth wasn't just the villain; he became the villain. You wanted personal revenge to seek, and even
That's
now,
wild.
I love that tune.
Yeah, incredible moment. It's an incredible moment, and like as you say, Cardinal, like Final Fantasy VII in-game graphics are today's standard shocking. Like even when they released, the in-game graphics weren't cutting edge. But those CG videos that play for the cutscenes were, and I remember being a much younger man watching that play out with one of my good friends, James, at the time, and just he was playing it, I was watching, and he dropped his controller on the ground when it happened, and it broke. He broke his controller by just shock, dropped it, and just both of us were like. And then begins the quest, because we've all heard that you can go to a secret island and you can revive her. And we played that game genuinely for weeks, trying to find a way of getting her back. Because as you said, Cardinal, you've spent tens of hours leveling up your character, and Aerith in Final Fantasy VII in the original is extremely useful to have in your party, like so useful to have. And then all of a sudden she's gone and there's no redos. You don't meet another character straight after that just happens to be at the same sort of level as her with the same skills. No, she's gone. All her skills that you've been crafting and picking and building up this team around is just taken from you. And you're powerless, and it's brilliant.
You can get her ultimate limit breaks, her ultimate weapons, all before this happens. Yeah. And her ultimate limit break makes the party invincible, by the way. It's like an unstoppable power that you have to go through a lot to get there.
Class.
But it's not just that effort you have to go to. Aerith isn't just a love interest of Cloud. She is central to the entire story. She's the last ancient. It's the last ancient on the planet. Shinra's whole narrative is they want to get to this promised land and they need Aerith from that. Everything of that switches. She's gone. That's it. This different story takes over.
But yeah, and
That's wild.
The game just changes after it, but it's fantastic, and that is why Aerith's death is number 6. Go ahead, Cardinal.
Let me just tell you, when you start up in the next scene, 10 minutes later, you're Cloud and you're snowboarding down a mountain to some fun music. It's 1997, still.
I mean, it's a JRPG right out the bat there.
It's an incredibly fun sort of sequence.
I have the port. I have the port on the PlayStation, like the PS4 port that they did for it as well. So I'm been tempted about going into it for the longest time, especially after completing Remake. Yeah, I think I need a long play game, and I think Final Fantasy VII has always been sort of calling to me. So I'll catch up in this conversation down the line.
Yeah. So this brings us on lovely to number 5, which is Psycho Mantis boss fight, Metal Gear Solid 1.
Amazing.
Yes.
Amazing.
You talk about cultural events.
And this is number 5.
This is number 5.
Like,
it's crazy, man.
Every gimmick in the book that we never knew existed.
But this ties in lovely with the whole idea of the dual shock as well.
Yeah.
And it was purely as I can't tell, like, it can't have just been here's a bit of product placement or however they want to do it at that time. But just, my brain knows it's like, it's not the game. I know it's the thing, but the fact that it's done so well and embedded into the narrative of Metal Gear Solid, I'm like, that's just brilliant.
Yeah.
For narrative's sake, someone set the scene of what's going on.
I will do that. So the story is Solid Snake is trying to stop a terrorist cell from attacking the US government in Shadow Moses Island. He has just been reunited with Meryl, and then as they are going to go to the caves, they have to go through, is it the general's office? Is that what it's called?
Something like that, yeah. It's
The
with the
director's
commander,
office,
the directors,
something
or
like that.
something like that, yeah.
But when they go into the room, it is a very grand room. It's beautiful, but they are stopped by boss Psycho Mantis. Psycho Mantis is an telepathic super soldier who is wearing full leathers and a, what was it called?
It's a gas mask.
Gas mask. Thank you very much. And he wears there's specific reasons for all of it, but the reason that this boss fight is so incredible is because Hideo Kojima decided, I am going to break every fourth wall right now. And when Psycho Mantis is talking to Snake, he's not actually talking to Snake. He is talking to you, the player, with the controller in the hand. He tells you, put your controller on the floor and I will make it move. If you had a DualShock, you put it on the floor and it would kickstart the vibration motors and the controller would move across the floor. Mind-blowing stuff going on here. But wait, there's more. It gets better. He then asked you a question. Are you a blank slate or are you full of memories? And then he reads your memory card. And if you have any other Konami games on your memory card, he will make references to each and every one of them at random. If you have Pro Evolution Soccer, he'll say, I see you're a athlete. If you have whatever, there's so many games in there, and he has a little sentence for every single Konami game in the PlayStation library.
That's really cool.
Prior to the release.
I actually didn't know that, because every time I got to that point, Psycho Mantis would go, your memory is completely clean. There must be going on in that head of yours.
Yeah. And then there's more, because then he'll start playing with your TV by making it go to this blue screen.
Before that as well. So not even before he breaks the TV, he commends, like, he read the save file of the game and he'll like critique or praise your
how many times you saved and how many times you've been spotted. Yeah.
It's like you're really reckless or you're good in a fight and stuff like that. And it's like, you don't save very often. It would be a shame if something bad were to happen.
Yeah. And then the boss fight starts. Now, the boss fight for Psycho Mantis isn't actually that good. He just throws a lot of furniture at you and you just shoot him. Or well, you don't shoot him, you have to punch him, because he can read your controller port. So
and all of your
realize
actions,
he can react to everything based on your controller port. And then the key to beating him really quickly is taking your controller out of port 1, putting it into port 2, because he cannot read controller port 2. The whole thing here is just incredible, gentlemen. Keep in mind, this is what, 1997? Or 98? But there's no middleware here. This is just Hideo Kojima and his team at Konami building all this.
Wouldn't it be funny if we did this?
Systems. Yeah. It's just incredible. It's an incredible piece of storytelling. It's an incredible piece of involving and engaging the player. It blew my mind. And he does this fourth wall breaking a couple of times, but prior you get Meryl's Kodak number by looking at the back cover, and there's a screenshot of her 141.5, whatever her Kodak number is. But it's just genius. But the Psycho Mantis fight is just, on a technical level, just next level. And it is, we've said it before in this podcast, I'm going to say it right now, it is a classic example of Kojima doing what he wants just because he can. And Kojima, he just does what he wants. What a boss fight. What a collection of moments in a short space of time. Just incredible. So
I will extend the field on this one into the Psycho Mantis boss fight in Metal Gear Solid 4, because this integrates like the whole wireless controller, and he's like, and then you're having to like go, I can't change the ports. Sorry.
Yeah.
That is, you know what? That is incredible. That codec thing. Just, I think, Lover, you said you had to phone it up or something because you
rented it from Activision. Yeah, I had to ring Activision and ask for Meryl's codec number.
Oh, right! Like, it's so iconic. It's so standout, and just like it just makes me chuckle. Even now, like that.
The guy at Activision used to able to ram it off. I wasn't the first person to do it, clearly. But yeah, what a thing. So this brings us on lovely to number 4, and it is another video game, and it is the release of GTA 3. And we've mentioned this in the 2001 launch, sort of the launch schedule, 2001. GTA 3, for me, is probably one of the most important video game releases of all time.
GTA 3.
Mm-hmm.
Because we've gone from top down to fully 3D AAA now.
But even it's more than just the change in perspective. The change of scale, like GTA 1 and 2 and GTA 1969 and stuff in the PlayStation 1, very, very, very simple, basic, bare bones games. GTA 3 introduced a lot of sort of procedural moments and player generated content. You know, you had all these pedestrians that would react realistically for 2001 to what was going on screen. It gave you all the tools, you know, the cheat codes. You can get helicopters, you can get tanks, you can get all the weapons. You can just go to a multi-story car park, stand on top of it, and just bombard the city with rockets from a rocket launcher and all this here business. It was just next level game design. And it really was the start of Rockstar as the powerhouse, and it's the start of GTA as the premier video game franchise. It's just a really important title. Like I don't think I'm overstating this here. It might be the single most important game released on the PlayStation 2 because it was not possible, or we thought it wasn't possible for this game to run on the Sega Dreamcast. Sega Dreamcast was sort of marketed on being the most powerful games console on the planet, and then all of a sudden Sony are like, well, yeah, it can't play this, and then GTA 3 was announced. We found out recently that the Dreamcast was more than capable of running GTA 3, but we didn't know that in 2001. But this is the one that's really cemented the PlayStation 2 as the premier games console. Yes, it came to the Xbox years later, and yes, they were better versions of the game, but they'd missed the boat by that stage of the game. I think it's one of the most important games released in the PlayStation 2, if not the most.
Yeah, I'd have to probably double on that then. It's just, I remember playing it and just being like, there's so much to do. It's not just like a story mode game. There is, like, we talked about kind of how Cyberpunk gives you nearly too much to do and it bogs you down. I feel as if like this was just that perfect balance of go do the missions, like the initials will show up on the waypoint, or you can just go and follow the traffic as a normal human, or you can just go on a killer rampage as everyone has always done in a GTA game. This one just like let you to it, and people I think were just so taken aback by the idea of I can do everything. Yeah, let's go.
Yeah. And there was flavor to that world as well, because there was different gangs and families. There was sort of the Italian Leone family. There was the Yakuza triads. There was a Jamaican and Hispanic and Colombian and Diablos, all different tribe or gangs and areas of the city. As well.
Yeah,
different flavors of missions and stuff. And I feel like the games that followed GTA 3, like Vice City, San Andreas, just built upon 3. They added new features in terms of music, weapons, swords, building up muscles, being able to learn to swim, maybe. But, it was just incremental beyond that after that.
Yeah. And that's the thing, because GTA 3 is a trilogy of games, and they incrementally build and build and build and build, but the legacy of Grand Theft Auto 3 is quite simply open world games are still being built to the formula that was designed and created here. Yes, they've been built upon, of course they have, but without GTA 3, you wouldn't have had open world games the way we know them today, for good and bad. I'll let the listener decide whether or not that's a good thing or a bad thing. I personally think it's a very, very, very good thing. But yeah, GTA 3, one of the most important game releases of all time, in my opinion.
It's also a game that I thoroughly enjoy, where it was like, here's all the cheat codes as well, and we're not gonna, like, obviously we're talking, this is like pre-achievements and trophies and all that kind of stuff then as well, so there's no hindrance, but they just were like, Oh, do you want infinite ammo? Do you want infinite armor? Do you want a tank? Do you want a flying tank? Go for it. Do
Yeah.
it because you've earned it.
Yeah, yeah. GTA 3, what a game! What a game! And our number 4. So now we're into
It
the top
changed the
3.
game.
We're into
Absolutely
the
changed
top
everything.
3.
What's taking the bronze medal?
Bronze medalist is the PlayStation 2, selling 160 million plus units, cementing its legacy as the best selling games console of all time. And quite simply, the PlayStation 2 was the peak of PlayStation dominance. We always talk about the console war, the console war. In this generation of games console, you had the Dreamcast, PlayStation 2, GameCube, and the Xbox original. There was no war because Sony went total scorched earth on everybody, on everyone. Like the PlayStation 3 after it with Blu-ray, this was your Trojan horse for the DVD format. This was cheap. Buying a PlayStation 2 was cheaper than buying a dedicated Blu-ray player. And to be quite honest about it, the DVD playback was as good as a DVD player in 2000.
It still is. I have a testament to that. So I still have my slim PS2 and I still use it as a DVD player.
Yeah.
It's a bit chuggy, but once it gets going,
yeah.
it's 100%, absolutely no issues. But we're laughing about it. It's 160 plus million units. That's still going. Yes, they've stopped manufacturing them, but people are still like,
yeah, they've stopped manufacturing them. They've stopped counting too, as far as I'm aware. I think they stopped counting these in like 2019. I think
when you've won the game, you kind of stop flexing at that point now. But yeah, it's just such a desirable, accessible console. And I think it was the first one, if memory serves it, once they went from the chunky PS2 to the slim PS2, they then went, let's make it yellow, let's make it red, let's make it
the colorways.
And the color customization on it was so extensive so quickly as well. I think at that point they were just like, let's make every version of this console under the sun.
Yeah, and you think about the PlayStation 2, the games, we all voted it the best PlayStation home console. We all did. You think about the games library of it was incredible, but you think of all the things it brought to the table. People always forget every button on the controller was analog. So the face buttons, all analog. Triggers, all analog. It brought so much. It brought network capability to PlayStation. So you had a plug-in modem at the back. You had a hard drive add-on later on in its life. It did a lot. It innovated a massive amount. Obviously, the Blu-ray was the selling point. And it's 4 gigs of storage capability. It was just an incredible. Remember we were talking about the PlayStation 1 that was sold double Nintendo and Sega combined. If you think about what this console did to Nintendo and Microsoft and Sega, I think a Sega Dreamcast sold something like 12 million. I think the GameCube sold something like 21 million. And I think the Xbox sold somewhere in between the two of them. So this thing did about 5 times the combined total of its 3 competitors.
It's crazy as well.
There was no console war in this generation. Sony went scorched earth and absolutely destroyed everybody. And it should have set them up for the perfect PlayStation 3 launch. But I think because they dominated so much, it made them arrogant. But the PlayStation 2, great games library, great hardware, great marketing, just the whole thing, really innovative, really great console. It deserves every single one of those 162 million units sold. Incredible.
And I still go into CEX and pick up random games from that.
The library's so extensive, though. That's it. You get all these people who are basically collectors now, and it's because of the PlayStation 2.
Yeah, and all the things they tried with it. The iToy was a proto Kinect.
iToy, SingStar, Buzz,
Guitar Hero.
I still can't get over that Final Fantasy XI was an online game that you had to buy an external modem for and a keyboard for the PS2, and it was still being supported and playable on the PS2 until 2016.
Wow.
Huawei.
And there you go. Just one of the, if not the best games console of all time. We can debate that in a different episode.
Yeah.
But let's go on to the silver medalists of the most iconic PlayStation moments. And this one is linked to number one. But number two, in my opinion, the second most iconic moment in PlayStation history is the Nintendo betrayal in 1991. The backstory to this one is quite simple. Sony was meant to make a CD add-on to the Super Nintendo. And they had contracts drawn up, ready for the sign-in. And without prior warning, Nintendo decided that they weren't going to go with Sony to make the CD add-on. They were going to go to Sony's biggest competitor, Philips. But they didn't tell Sony before they went to CES that year and publicly announced their partnership with Philips, which had ramifications for Nintendo. But obviously, Ken Kutaragi was absolutely raging on what he felt was the biggest betrayal of his professional career. And he marched into Sony's head office and headquarters and went, we need to get these guys back by absolutely destroying them in their own games market, which is
Shapers.
which is mad.
And I remember reading this, and you talking about it before, and it's just an insane story.
It really is
a series of events.
It had so many. It had so many ramifications. So, because they signed with Philips, Philips made the CDI, and that is why the CDI had games like Zelda on it, and that weird sort of accounting game with Kirby and stuff. But no, the fact that Sony went no, they had R&D'd the PlayStations, the Nintendo PlayStation add-on, and they had all this stuff ready to go for Nintendo, and just to be even being told to find out at the same time as the world that they were no longer Nintendo's business partner, but Philips were. They took it personally, and that this is the moment.
It's a nexus point for Sony and the PlayStation, because like they would have turned that console. How long would that have been then from the end of this partnership effectively to the PlayStation 1 coming out then?
3 years. 3 years. But they had R&D'd a lot of it already. The sound chip, the graphics processor and stuff had all been R&D'd. But obviously by 1994, when it released in Japan, technology had marched on and Sony had went with it. But they had all these business links with chip manufacturers here, there, and everywhere.
So they've done a lot of the legwork in this like Nintendo partnership or whatever, and then basically just fueled by furious anger, no doubt. But I remember you discussing this on a What If episode as well. It was like, what was stopping the idea of what was stopping Nintendo from just going, let's just buy you up. We've got the assets there, but like the assets have been done.
Sony were a bigger company than Nintendo.
Yeah,
they are. PlayStation is just one element of their business. They make TVs. They made the Walkman.
That's very true. Yeah,
you know what I mean? Sony are huge. Sony as a corporation, especially in 1991, were massive. They were surely bigger than Nintendo, surely. Not in the video game market, obviously, but as a business entity, I don't think Nintendo was no way they could have afforded to buy Sony. Sony tried to use their size against Nintendo and were asking for licensing fees and stuff like this here, and their costs associated with their partnership Nintendo found prohibitively high, and that's why they went with Philips, because Philips like, yeah, we'll do it, but we want access to some of your IP for our CDI coming out, which is an educational console. And that it burnt Nintendo in more than one way. Obviously, it nearly cost them their Zelda franchise because they were so bad on this CDI, but it also turned what could have been potentially one of the biggest business sort of partnerships of all time into their single biggest competitor, and they got absolutely pummeled from 1994 to 2000, and the Switch effectively, the Wii 2007, they got pummeled by PlayStation repeatedly. Ken Kutaragi wanting to bury them, I think is what's reported, was his words. I want to bury them. They were very, very, very near dead and buried and then the Wii launched. If the Wii didn't take off the way it did, Nintendo would be gone. I
feel as if this is very much like the Ferrari Ford Le Mans saga. It's just like, curses, let's put all of our money in and destroy them.
Never annoy a man on a passion product.
No.
You know what I mean? Ken
Definitely
Kutaragi
not.
loved the idea of making video games, and the Nintendo PlayStation was like his wee passion project. Apparently, the higher ups of Sony were just like, he wants to do it, just let him go and do it. Apparently, that was the response. I want to bury them, I think is what he said. I want to bury them. And they're like, go on, see what you can do, mate. And then,
Yeah.
10 years after this, they're releasing, some of the best games of all time, the biggest selling games console of all time. It's crazy how things work out. But that's number 2, the Nintendo betrayal. And number 1, the gold medalist, the most iconic PlayStation moment in 30 years is CES 1995. And this is the announcement of the PlayStation in the West. And it's
Coldest
brilliant.
moment in
It's brilliant.
history.
Hopefully, our editor can put this up, because it's literally like a board member of Sony going, the CEO of Sony America would like to make an announcement here. And he just comes marching down, walks up to the podium, takes the microphone, and just goes, $2.99, and then walks away.
It was so, like, doing the research for this and having the
Right.
moments looked at and stuff. It was just because Sega went first in this conference.
Sega, it's much like the Xbox One, PlayStation 4. Sega went first. So Sega had a very weird launch of their Sega Saturn. The Sega Saturn launched at $3.99, and it was launching, I think, was it the day after? Or was it a month? But they announced the price, and they were like, this is going to be available. It was either tomorrow or the next month, but only in Toys R Us and these other select stores. And so Sony, I can imagine Sony going $3.99, licking their lips and going, yeah, we'll go $2.99, and just decimate it. This be poor Sega Saturn. The poor Sega Saturn.
Crazy. Like,
But
it
it's
was
just
dead. Like, at that point, it's dead in the water. $100 difference before you get out the gate. Like,
in 1995 is a lot of cash, and you think about its competitors. The 3DO was £699, and as a games console, it wasn't as capable as the PlayStation. Like the PlayStation 1 hardware, as quaint as it looks now, was beastly. It was more powerful than the 3DO. It was more powerful than the Sega Saturn. The Sega Saturn was effectively, Sega were developing that as a 2D machine, and then they realized, oh, hold on, all these other companies are doing 3D. Let's just wallop on a second GPU, and then we'll do 3D too. It was the cheapest console, cheapest 3D console on the market when it released, and the dropping of that price must have made Sega panic, because they must have known there's no way we can live with this. And you think about the launch titles on the PlayStation over here were robust. I mean, you had Tekken, which was a better console port than the original version of Virtua Fighter and the Saturn. You had Ridge Racer, which was far superior to the original version of Daytona USA and the Sega Saturn. You had a lot of games here. A lot of games. You had Load It. You had Rayman, which was the superior version, was on PlayStation over Sega Saturn. There was just a lot here. The reason I think this is number 1 is that as much as number 2 is the nexus point for the development of the PlayStation, this moment it defined Sony as an entity in the gaming world. A little bit arrogant, but they can walk they certainly talk the talk, but they certainly walk the walk. And this is the moment that sort of defines PlayStation as a console maker, a major player in the market. It started their rise to the very top. And if you look at the trajectory of Sony over the last 30 years, it's only gone up and up and up. I mean, the PlayStation 5 right now, I think he announced the other day it sold more than the the Xbox 360. So you're probably talking there, it's tracking on par with PlayStation 4, which sold 120 million consoles. It's incredible, the staying power that Sony have had, and it all started with a simple $2.99.
Just a simple price point. That's it. And but the fact that that was enough to carry so much weight and has effectively been a lot of their marketing strategy over the course of 30 years
Yeah.
is like, well, look, here's what we can do, and we're going to undercut, basically.
Basically. Yeah. It's genius.
Huge. And it sets a stepping point for the next 30 years at that point. Like, and do you think that they knew what they were getting themselves into? Obviously, like, they have a plan and they know that they're going to project that it's going to do quite well. For 30 years, quite well.
I don't think anyone at Sony would have said this little console we're making, despite Nintendo was going to sell 100 million copies, 100 million units. I don't think in their wildest dreams they would have even anticipated anything like that. I think Sony would have been happy with like 40 or 50. But the fact that they've keyed in the 100 million their first time of asking must have went, there's money here.
There's something money to be had.
Yeah, but that's our number one. So it is. So our top 15 then. So 15 was the Resident Evil, the first zombie reveal. 14 was PlayStation 2's 2001 release schedule. 13 was Sarah's death in The Last of Us. 12 was Metal Gear Solid Tanker Level. 11 was the T-Rex and the Manta Ray demo from the PlayStation Demo 1. Number 10 was a DualShock being released. Number 9 was the train sequence from Uncharted 2. Number 8 was the PlayStation 3's $600 launch price. 7 is the announcement for the PlayStation 4, which I think we extended that to.
Yeah.
Number 7 was Aerith's death from Final Fantasy 7. 5 was Psycho Mantis boss fight. 4 was GTA 3 being released. 3 was the PlayStation 2 selling 160 million units.
Yep.
Number 2 was Nintendo betraying Sony in 1991. And number 1 was the 299. See you later.
I gotta watch this.
That's all she wrote. It's so like
cold. It's cold. It is proper cold. So it is, man. Yeah, I've never seen anything like it. But yeah. That brings us to the end of the list, and quite sadly, the end of our 30 years of PlayStation celebratory 2-part episode. I've enjoyed this one. It's been a journey. Lot of work, but it's been a journey.
I like that there is a lot to have been said, because we all kind of put, as we said, like, we're all different sort of eras of PlayStation, and how we scale that list was very, very different. So we've come to a nice average, I think, and everything that I think we all kind of basically said that 299 was a number one moment.
Oh, absolutely.
Really, yeah. So I'm quite happy with that list. It is pretty much, it's high scores canon now.
Yeah,
exactly. And we put a lot of effort in, but we had to interview a lot of Sony executives. We traveled to Japan,
we're willing to put it on record, though.
We all learned Japanese in order to converse. Incredible.
And American. This is the comprehensive top 30 moments list of 30 years in PlayStation. So,
and that's the only PlayStation-based podcast ever. That list is final.
Yeah, that is it. But yes, and speaking of things that are final, let's get the wrap-up section. And that is it, gentlemen. Not only is that another episode wrapped up, that is the 30 years of PlayStation celebration all wrapped up. And it's also coming very closely to wrapping up 2025, which means we have to discuss our Christmas release schedule.
Ho, ho, ho.
So next week's episode is going to be our Christmas episode. And we have something a wee bit special for that one. That's going to be fun. And then the week after that is going to be Astrobot Game of the Month Club.
Yep.
Following that is going to be our Game of the Year discussion.
High scores, high stakes Game of the Year awards. I'm so excited. I'm so excited for that episode.
In 4 weeks' time, then it's going to be our looking forward to games in 2026. What games are we hoping to play? What ones are we looking at? Which ones have caught our eye? And I think we should just get out of the way now. GTA 6 is probably going to appear in that list from at least one of us anyway. So we'll get it out of the way nice and early here. But that's what we're looking at over the next 4 weeks. And then after that, season 6 will be right around the corner. And that means you've got a champion's choice to be looking forward to. Gentlemen, let's go. Let's get competitive PlayStation gaming back. But that's the future. As for right now, if you want to support High Scores, High Stakes, there's a couple ways you can do that. If you've listened to us for a while and you haven't yet, give us a star rating on whatever podcast platform you're watching or listening to us on. 1 star to 5, whatever you think we're worth, that's what we get. If you want to leave a written review, that would be even better. That feeds algorithms, that tells Spotify, wherever, that we're worth listening to and more people should see us. And also, we will put your written reviews on the homepage for the website so people can see it, and you'll be your name's up in lights. So why not do it? If you've done all that, but you still haven't shared this podcast with a family member or a friend who you think will like it, what are you doing? What are you doing with yourself? Click that share button now. Send it on. Go on. You can do it while you listen. There's nothing stopping you here. The barrier of entry here is absolutely zero. And yeah, and if you want more High Scores, High Stakes content, because this 1 hour-ish wasn't enough, highscoreshighstakes.com. There you'll find episodes, you'll find many reviews of every challenge game we've ever played, and lots more. And with plenty more coming in 2026 as well. So with all that being said, gentlemen, I have nothing left to say, except I've been Mr. Lova. This has been High Scores, High Stakes. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on Monday. Love y'all. Bye.
Tack så mycket.